So my name is Blaine Seitz, and I am a PGA golf performance coach, and I specialize in players' fitness and wellness for physical and mental health. And we're going to be talking about that today using my system, my method, whatever you want to call it, the Mobilitas method. And we're going to get into a little bit of what that's all about. But out of curiosity, just show of hands, does anybody follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram? Has anybody seen me before? All right, new faces. I love it. And then just so I know a little bit of context, how many of you here are teaching professionals? Oh, right. That's basically anybody. Is anybody not a teaching professional? All right, we have a few. Perfect. Thank you. And out of curiosity, ma'am, what is it you do?
I'm a fitness manager, so a personal trainer.
Oh, perfect. Fitness manager at a country club. Oh, this is going to be right up everybody's alley. And then I saw a couple hands in the back. What do we do that aren't the teaching pros?
Well, I'm working on an app on the mental side of golf.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. We can all do better with the mental side, so you're going to get a lot out of this as well. And I saw one more hand. Was there another gentleman? No? We had the two. All right, perfect. So there's going to be a little bit for everybody here. And to give you guys a little bit of context, I got into the game of golf when I was just 4 years old. I've been playing the game my whole life. And around the age of 15, I started getting some pretty bad back pain. And I didn't quite know what it was from. At the time, I just thought golf and back pain go together, and there wasn't really a concern about it. Everybody I knew, they just popped some ibuprofen, they went out and they played. And it was around the summer of 2011 when I was on one of my internships that I was introduced into the world of mobility and fitness, and I discovered that there's ways that you can change the way that your body works and functions to reduce pain and improve performance. And what I started to do was apply those lessons into the students I was working with on the lesson tee. And what I found was some players got better, some players didn't. And so I was curious, why is it that I can teach the same system, if you will, to certain players, and some got better, some didn't? And it led me to the discovery and understanding that everybody's body is a little bit different, every swing should be a little bit different, and so teaching one way to a plethora of people isn't going to be the way that works. And if we understand the tendencies of a player's body, we can actually improve the way that they function and improve the way that they swing without, quote, changing the way that they swing. Because a lot of times, we already kind of know what to do, but we're getting in our own way. So as I started implementing the fitness into my teaching, I started understanding that, hey, now that people are getting more fit, they're also more likely to get hurt through injury. So I spent about 5 years professionally coaching CrossFitters, and my role in that industry was to create mobility programs so that players could move more weight, move them faster, and not get hurt as much. And I started to invite my golfers into these mobility programs, and lo and behold, they moved better, they played better, they hit the ball farther, and again, without having to change their swing. They'd come to me and say, Blaine, I came to your program the next 5, 6, 7 days, I was playing great, now I'm feeling stiff and tight again. There was something to that. And so that led me down another rabbit hole. And then where I kind of am today and what we're going to talk about later is understanding why, even though players know what they should do, why are they not doing it? And I think that's a really important thing for all of us to understand in this room as the teachers and the professionals of the game, is that it's not about the information that we give to people. It's about inspiring them to implement what we teach so that they can go through a transformation. And that's one of the most important things that I can teach all of you while we're here today, is it's not about the information, it's about the transformation that the person goes through. And if we can relate to somebody, and if we can have them follow a process that makes sense for them and their goals, and we can get them to move better and feel better and play better, now we have a student for life. And that student is going to come see you no matter what you do, whether you're in person or whether you put your programs online like I've switched over to. There's a lot of draw into, I like that person, they care about me, I have a connection with them. And at the end of the day, that's what we can do as the teaching professionals of this game. So I want to share with you guys what I call the Mobilitas method. But probably the number one question I get asked is, what the heck is Mobilitas? And it's a Latin word which means mobility, agility, speed, quickness of mind, and inconstancy. And at first I didn't know what inconstancy meant. It means the ability to change. So let's think about it for a second. What do we all want to be able to do? Roll out of bed and go play. hit bombs down the middle, not have pain, right? That's mobility. Mobility is the freedom of movement. It's the freedom of your mind to think, whatever it is I want to do, I can go ahead and do that. And a lot of times, our players get stuck behind a desk. They're working all day. They come to see us after a 40-hour week. They just want to play better over the weekend, and yet their body can't move the way that it's supposed to move. They've lost their freedom of movement. They've started to lose their speed. Their brain starts to slow down, and they can't quite fire the way that they used to, especially with older players, and they lose their ability to change. And we as teaching professionals, our job is to help people change. And so the question is, how can we dive down into these more deeper layers into discovering what's the one thing that I need to work on that's going to have the biggest impact for the rest of their game, right? Because we're going to find out here in a minute that it's not always what we might think. Okay, so to get into what the Mobilitas method is, I want you guys to imagine a pyramid, if you will. And at the top of that pyramid, we have what I call the transition phase. And this is what all of us specialize in this room. The transition phase has to do with the act of swinging a club or the act of being athletic in whatever your sport is. The same system can apply to baseball and to tennis, but obviously we're talking about golf. So we as professionals of the game, we understand things like kinematic sequence, the firing pattern, the acceleration pattern, to get the most out of the shot and put it into the ball and do it safely. This is why, if you guys go out on the show floor, there's so much technology out there that goes into 3D work, biomechanics work, force plates, the flight and launch simulators. I mean, it's amazing. And if any of you have been coming to this show for years, that one niche has just exploded, which is really cool. Now, at the same time, show of hands, who uses something like a KVS or a gear system to look at kinematic sequence? Does anybody use something like that where they teach that? No? Okay, cool. So I'm sorry, I made an assumption. Let's just back up real quick to talk about what it is. I'm sure you guys know, but just in case, the kinematic sequence is how do you get the most efficient transfer of movement from the ground out to the club. And we can measure this, and ideally, if we have our body all centered up, we want to see the sequence go from lower body to hip, hip into the thorax, thorax to the arm, and then the arm into the club. And if we look at tour players all across the board, they all follow this same kinematic sequence regardless of what their swing looks like, which is why we can have players like Matt Wolff, Jim Furyk, Bubba Watson, Tiger Woods. They're all completely different swings, but they all do this. Okay, and that's a really important thing to understand, because if this sequence is broken, the swing is no longer efficient and players start to get hurt. So if we think of it like throwing a football or pitching a baseball, we would see, let's just use baseball as the example. People pick up their leg, they step into it, they twist, they launch that ball. That would be equivalent to what we see tour players do with their swing. Now, what would happen if we saw a baseball player doing this? Right? We don't have to know anything about the kinematic sequence, but we know it's off. That's the equivalent of somebody in golf casting the club and then falling backwards, right? Really inefficient. So this is super important to understand, but you don't necessarily have to teach that to get somebody better at that. We just have to understand it. Because remember, it's not about the information, it's about the transformation. And if we can get a player better at this without having them understand it, they just instinctively do it, then we're going to be better off for it. Because we all know that players get into trouble when there's too many thoughts going through their head. Swing technique. This is the stuff PGA has been teaching for a very long time, right? Face, path, attack angle, launch, spin. We're all very familiar with those numbers, TrackMan, FlightScope, GC, all those companies. They're doing a great job of helping us understand all of that. But again, one of the things that we do as the teachers of the game is our job is to help players change those characteristics of their ball flight. But what if the person we're working with, Mr. Haverkamp from Caddyshack, we all know Mr. Haverkamp, right? What happens if he comes in to see us for a lesson and he just can't move the way that we need to make the changes that we know need to work? But again, what if we could change that without having to teach that? And then lastly, in this transition phase, this is where we start to do speed training, because once the swing is more efficient, Now we can increase that speed, we can reduce waste, we can get as much energy going into that ball as possible without people getting hurt, and that is critically important. But we have to understand that the transition phase is not the end-all be-all. There's a layer underneath that, and this is where the rotation phase comes in. The rotation phase is all about strength and hand-eye coordination. This is why something like the TPI fitness stage is so popular. And if any of you are sticking around, 3 o'clock, I'll be up there elaborating on this a little bit. Would love to have you come on out for it. But strength in a rotary sport is different than our traditional strength and conditioning programs. Strength and conditioning historically has been around for thousands of years. We saw the ancient Greeks doing it around the Olympic time, and the gladiators were doing it. The formula for getting stronger is a no-brainer. But how we get stronger for a rotary-specific sport is a little bit different, because we're not just training the muscles, we're training the neurosystem, your mind, and how it connects to the body. It's not always about adding resistance, it's about adding complexity. And we want to add that complexity through multiple planes of motion, adding layers over time. I've seen a lot of players come in that they say, you know, Blaine, no problem. I can pick up 300 pounds in a deadlift, no problem. But can they stand on one foot and hinge down and touch their toes and stand back up? Usually not. One, they're picking up 300 pounds. One of them, they're just moving their body weight. Which one's going to apply to a golf swing better? The less loaded, more neurologically demanding movement. Pelvic control, core stability, scapular and thoracic control, incredibly important. We need to be able to get into good posture. We need to be able to maintain that posture. And when we can strengthen our body in these multiple planes of motion through neurological complexity, our hand-eye coordination, or the manipulation of external objects, becomes better. This is why we see kids who grew up playing in their environment. They go down, they kick a ball with their friends, they have pickup games of basketball and baseball. They're the natural athletes. They pick up the game so easily, and they're the easiest ones to teach because they already have this, whether they know it or not. It's the people who got into the game late in life, or they've spent a lot of time sitting behind a desk and they've started to lose the way that their body functions, we struggle with the most, because they don't have the rotary control to get themselves into the positions they need to manipulate the club with the power and the speed to get the ball flight that we're looking for. So we need to be able to look underneath the hood. Where are you deficient? How can we test it? How can we change it? So that when we go backwards, all of these functions in the transition sequence improve, and we didn't have to even do anything. We just have to make sure that they're in the right headspace of choosing the right club and going through core strategy, which we'll get into in a little bit. Now, where the problem starts to come in, I touched on this a little bit earlier in the presentation, is that in order to create rotary strength the right way, the safe way, we have another layer known as the position phase. This is incredibly important, everybody. The position phase has to do with the mobility of the body, the stability of the body, and proprioception. Big word, which means body awareness or ability to control our own body. So earlier, in the rotation phase, we talked about hand-eye coordination or the manipulation of external objects. But before we can get better at manipulating external objects, we have to get better at manipulating ourselves, our own body weight, being able to control ourselves. That's super, super important. So let's dive into mobility just a little bit, because this is one of my areas of specialty, and I think you guys can benefit from it a lot. I'm going to have everybody stand up real quick. Let's make this interactive. Some of you may have seen this before. If you are, say, a TPI certified professional, this is something straight out of their protocol. I do similar assessments and screens in my programs as well. But I want everybody to stand nice and tall, and I want you to take your right arm, just so we're all going the same direction, and put it out to the side, flat to the ground, so that your elbow is in line with your shoulder. And if you have somebody next to you, introduce yourself, take a look. Yeah, you look good. Awesome. Now, keeping that elbow in line with your shoulder, how far back can you move your hand? And we can do that a couple of times. What I want you to pay attention to, and what you can have somebody next to you check, is when you do that, do you start to arch or not? Ideally, this forearm goes beyond the angle of your spine. Okay, so a lot of players, they'll get to maybe here, and then they're like, yeah, look how far I can go. And I'm like, yeah, but look at how much your back's arching. What do you think is going to happen in the golf swing when we try to lay off that club a little bit? Right? How many here have had a lesson where the player has the flying elbow? We're like, oh man, Freddie Couples can get away with it. But here's the thing about Freddie Couples, he can do this. He chooses to do this. And that's a really important thing to understand. As we're going through this process, we don't want to change somebody's swing to the degree that they lose their ability to swing. Super important. If we see somebody that they have a flying elbow, but they can do this, let them swing like this if that's the way that works best for them. Right? Our whole job is to increase performance as best we can. Now, let's get into golf posture. This is a little bit different. Let's pretend like we're about to hit, say, a 7-iron. And now we're going to line up that elbow. And now we're going to try to go backwards. Out of curiosity, show of hands, who felt tighter and more restricted? Yeah, that's a lot of hands. So why is that? You guys can go ahead and have a seat. I appreciate that. There'll be other times where we get up. So what we're starting to understand is that the body may work in one position, but it may not work in a different position. And we may screen an athlete or understand an athlete in their functional screen for just general posture, but what about when we get into playing position? Does it change? And a lot of times it does. Because we want to be functional not just as a human, but as an athlete in whatever our sport is. So let's dive into the mobility just a little bit more, because there are 6 major mobile joint segments of the body. And what defines a mobile joint is that it can move in multiple planes of direction freely. We have the ankle, we have the hips, we have the thoracic spine throughout the rib cage, we have the cervical spine up in the neck, the shoulders, and the wrists. The key to all of this is that there are certain joints and segments that are meant to move and certain segments that are meant to stay stable. If something that's supposed to move doesn't, we get hurt. If something that's supposed to stay stable moves, we get hurt. So it's having a balance. What's the number one reason players leave the game of golf? Does anybody know? Injury. Specifically to the back. Absolutely. Number one. So let's just real quick take a look at where the lower back lies. Well, it's right in between 2 of the most major mobile segments in our entire body, our hips and our thoracic spine. If the hips and the thoracic spine don't move the way that they should move, the area between them tries to take over. It says, oh, I'll make up for it. Let me move around a little bit. But it won't be able to. We get low back pain. We lose our posture. A lot of things start to fall apart and we get injured, and that's not what we want in the game of golf. And if we want people to keep coming and seeing us for lessons, it's important that we understand so that we can help them to the best of their ability. Now, granted, you don't necessarily need to know all the ways to fix it. You just need to be aware of it so that you can either have somebody else on your team or refer somebody else out to be able to do the things that maybe make this a cohesive group effort, right? Really important. All the best players in the world, they're working in teams, and that's really important for us to model as well. So what if we want to get that thoracic spine in the shoulders freed up so that we can do this better? I'm going to do a little test. I'm going to have everybody get back up. This is one of my favorites. You can do it on the golf course. I do it all the time. We're going to test that right shoulder again. I want everybody to take your right hand, put it flat on your back, at least as best you can. Now, standing nice and tall, push your hand into your back. Breathe big and let it go. Now, flip your hand around so that the back of your hand is against your back. And again, stand tall and push into your back. Breathe in and let it go. And we're going to do that a couple of times. Switch back up. Push the palm into your back. Breathe. And then switch again. We're going to put it behind us. Without getting technical, we're working on internal and external rotation. Your players don't need to know that. They just need to know their shoulders are going to feel better after doing this. One more time. And then back. Now, if we go to that same test, arm out to the side, we're going to see improvement in a very short amount of time. This is what I call power stretching. Power stretching is a really important key ingredient into improving our mobility. Let's get into our golf posture real quick and test that. Show of hands, who saw improvement from before? Tons of hands. I love it. It took what, 30 seconds, maybe? Awesome. Let's go ahead and sit down. Thank you. So power stretching, really important technique because a lot of times stretching misses something really important. There are passive mobility techniques and there are active mobility techniques. And it's important to understand both sides of the coin. A passive mobility technique is when someone or something is doing the work for you, like a massage therapist. Sometimes PTs use a blend, but let's just say they're doing the manipulation for you, or things like the percussion guns that we see out on the showroom floor that brrr up into your shoulder and back and everything. They are doing the work. Now, there's nothing wrong with passive mobility, but something starts to happen. The tissues open up and they start to glide. And now they're loose and they're supple and they have no idea what to do. They're like, oh man, I haven't felt this way in years, but I don't know how to control it. I don't feel safe, I don't feel stable. I feel like I'm going to eventually get hurt. I feel like a newborn deer walking on these little Bambi legs. So what does it do the next day? It tightens right back up. So if we do passive mobility, we just have to follow it up with stability. We just have to teach our body how to use it. I've been doing this for years, very successfully on the lesson tee, where somebody can't get their club into the right spot, we open up their shoulder, and then we do drills to teach them how to work their shoulder into that position, and now it sticks, which is a really cool thing. Again, I talk about this all in my book, so make sure you go home, you read it, and you can also, guys, get into my community. I put free coaching stuff up all the time, so this fills in a lot of the blanks for you. Now let's talk about active mobility, power stretching, like we just did. Whether you use a tool like a foam roller or a mobility ball or not, active mobility is the key. We're sending a signal from our brain to our body and creating that neurological connection. When you were pressing, you basically put your shoulder into a spot that felt restricted. You couldn't go any farther. That's fine. You stretched all those tissues out, and then you contracted them. You lengthened that tissue and then squeezed it so it tried to get shorter, and that, in turn, opened it up. But there's one piece that goes along with this, which we often forget, which is breathing. Breathing for mobility is critically important because there's a neurological response that happens when we hold our breath that our tissues tighten up and we won't change. So, we've all been in this situation before. We're playing with a player who maybe isn't the best. We're on the tee box and we're kind of standing off to the side. They hit a shot, ball comes flying at us sideways. Right? We've all been there. Maybe we've done it. What's your gut instinct? What's your response? What do? We hold our breath and we tighten up. When we stop breathing and we get tense, our body thinks we're in trouble. It won't release. When we breathe, however, we can override that. It relaxes. So we put ourselves into a restricted position, we contract and we breathe, and we repeat that process. It opens up the entire system. Now what starts to happen when our body gets better posture is we can now control our balance and our body awareness because our skeleton is stacked properly. We're no longer slouched forward or arched back. This is a bad posture. This is where we get into trouble. Now our body can't rotate the way that we need it to. So when we get it opened up, now everything's aligned and it's stacked and we can do things like single leg balance, we can do our single leg deadlifts. Everything starts to become easier because we got to the root of it. And now that our body has good posture, it can rotate, it feels free, now we can strengthen that system through neurological strength and rotary training, which will improve our ability to swing the club, manipulate the club, and add speed without getting injured. This is what I refer to in my book as the PRT speed model. Because we all want to swing faster, we all want to hit it farther, we all want to hit a score lower. So again, up top is transition, where we're all experts of this game. But underneath are the areas of this industry that are starting to become a little bit more popular. And that's why you're all here, is to learn a little bit more about it. Now, this pyramid I don't care if we're doing the right training in the right order, doing all the right sets and reps. This pyramid, we can build the base as broad as we want to add as much height as we possibly can. But if it's not sitting on a good foundation, it's ultimately going to sink, and all of our work goes for naught. So there are three very key, very critical, important pieces that go into building that foundation. Anybody want to give a guess what one of the three might be? Nutrition. Yeah, great job, guys. Nutrition. Wow, I don't know who said that, but they got it right. Nutrition is so important because if we can't replenish the cells in our body properly, it doesn't matter how much training we do. It's not going to last. It's not going to sustain. We're going to get hurt. Right? We have to think that what the food is that we're putting inside our body is fuel. Every time we eat something, that nourishment goes into our body and it replaces all the cells and it allows us to replenish it. Good fats, they help our brain. We think better. Amino acids and proteins to make our muscles stronger. Carbohydrates for energy, right? I like the saying, life feeds on life, which sounds a little grotesque, but if you think about it, the closer we are to where something grew, and the more nourishment and the more life that's in it, the better it's going to be for us. So I don't ever prescribe one particular diet. I think the most important diet is the one that you can sustain for years. And if we're eating something that's restrictive and says, oh, you can't have ice cream, well, I'm not going to do that because I love my ice cream too much, right? But life feeds on life. Nutrition is simply eating nutritionally dense foods rather than calorically dense foods. We could eat a cup of rice. We could eat 8 cups of broccoli. They're going to have the same amount of carbohydrate, and they're going to have a completely different amount of nutrition. Fresh, local, whole foods. Cook them yourself. Know what's in the food that you eat. Organic when possible, although the word organic, just be careful. Organic sugar is still not good for you, even though it's organic. Okay, so be careful with that stuff. The marketers are getting really good at it. Sugar-free candy. What makes it sweet? And then we need to balance our proteins, fats, and carbohydrates so that we have a better hormonal response to the things that we eat. If you've ever eaten a bowl of pasta and you feel tired 20, 30 minutes later, that's why. Your hormones are out of whack, your blood sugar is spiked, and now you crash, and now you need to try to restabilize it. Not good when you're out on the golf course for 5 hours and you make that turn and you grab one of those cookies at the turn. Oh, they're delicious. And then you get to the 13th hole and you're like, oh my God, where's the cart girl? I need a beer, right? Because we got to get that blood sugar back up. Hydration, speaking of being out on the golf course and speaking of beer. Proper hydration is critically important for all of our performance, and typically speaking, we want to drink half of our body weight in ounces of water a day. So take however much you weigh in pounds. If you have anybody in kilos, the math doesn't work out. But take it in pounds, cut it in half. That's how many ounces of water you should be drinking on just a daily basis. More if you're out in the sun, more if you're exercising. If anybody's here in the Florida area or the Arizona area or any of these states that get really hot, add a little bit more. But it's not just the quantity of water, it's also the quality of water. We need clean, filtered water that we can then add back into it things that help us retain that water, such as alkalinity and electrolytes. See, a lot of people think, oh, I drank a gallon of water today. I'm really hydrated. Yeah, and you peed 12 times, right? You were drinking all that water, which flushed out all the nourishment you got from that good food you were eating. I don't care if you had broccoli and salmon for dinner. You didn't retain any of it because you peed it out. So it's important to have quality water that nourishes your cells and allows your body to absorb the nutrients that you've eaten so that it doesn't go to waste. And alkalinity is really important because a lot of disease likes to live in acidic environments, and we can combat that with alkalinity. In alkalinity, you can now buy alkalized water at a lot of places, and you can actually alkalize your body through breathing techniques as well, which is really awesome, and we will touch on that in a little bit. But you guys see how they work together. The nutrition means nothing if you're peeing all that nourishment out. And to go along with hydration, if we're dehydrated, we're not going to think clearly, we're not going to perform, we're not going to be able to last, We're just eventually going to fall apart. Sleep. Sleep is probably the one of, we'll put it the most important. Because if we're sleep deprived, nothing's going to happen for ourselves as the teacher and for our students. How many of you here, show of hands, it's common for you to be standing out on the tee box or in your facility for like 8 out of 10 hours a day, back to back to back, right? It's hard. It's really, really hard. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to take care of others. For those of you that raised your hand, or maybe some of you have been here before, do you really think that the person getting that 8th lesson in a row got the same lesson that the first person did? No. Is it fair to them? I used to work at a facility where one day, one of the teachers got a call. And he said, hey, I want to come get a lesson. Yeah, no problem. I can put you down. How's 6 p.m.? He's like, no, what's the first thing you have? What do you mean? I start at 7. No, I'll be there at 6. Well, I don't get there till 6. Yeah, but I don't want to come there late in the day because I'm not getting the same lesson that I'd get early in the day. And it kind of hit him. And it's a really powerful thing. We don't want any of our students to feel that way. We want everybody to be treated equally, so we need to be able to take care of ourselves. Sleep like it's your job so that you can be your best for whoever, whether it's your students, whether it's yourself, whether it's your family, whether it's your kids. 90-minute sleep cycles. For those of you who don't know, when you go to sleep, it's not just you're in deep REM sleep and then you wake back up. Our body goes through these cycles where our brain waves go from very active to slow and deep, and then we come back up, and then we go back down, and then we come back up. And that whole cycle takes about 90 minutes. So there's probably been times where you wake up 40 minutes before your alarm, and you feel so good. But you're like, if I just get that extra 40 minutes of sleep, I'm going to feel better. So you press snooze, you go back to sleep, you wake up 40 minutes later, and you're like, I feel like crap. That's why you mistimed your sleep cycles. I'll take 7.5 hours of sleep over 8 hours any day, so long as I have a consistent wake-up time and a consistent bedtime. Whether this is for yourself or somebody you work with, creating a consistent routine where you wake up at the same time and go to bed at the same time is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and for your players. I like the idea of waking up at the same time every single day and having maybe 2 bedtimes. One of them gives you 7.5 hours of sleep, one of them gives you 9 hours of sleep. But at least you're waking up at the same time and your body wakes up and you're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to go. Right? You don't even need coffee. You just wake up, you drink a glass of water, you do a couple stretches, and you're on your way. You're good to go. As dark as possible. The darker the room, the chillier the room, the better it's going to be. Research has shown that when we have a nice cold room with a good warm blanket on us, we're going to sleep better. We ideally want our hands and our feet to be the same temperature as our core, and we'll sleep like a baby. Now, we see how these performance aspects nourish our body in such a way that when we're doing mobility work and stability work and balance work, that our mind and body are performing on all cylinders. They're ready to go. They're firing up. They're healthy. They can make those changes. Dried up, dehydrated cells with bad nourishment. Has anybody eaten some fast food and then been like, yeah, I want to go on a run? No. Oh my God, it just churns up in your stomach. It's horrible. But if you have a good, healthy meal and you're feeling nourished, yeah, let's go exercise. Because your body's ready for it. It's putting good fuel. And when you can position your body in the right way, you can go ahead and add rotary strength. You can neurologically create the connections that you need to become a better athlete so that you can become a better golfer by improving the way that you swing and how fast you do it. So again, without having to teach all these, we can improve all of these. And for all of you in the room, it starts with that awareness of what's best for your student. Maybe that means going out and getting some certifications to fill in the blanks. Maybe it means bringing some people onto your team who have their own specialization. Maybe it means outsourcing to somebody like myself who runs programs online to get your students in to help you as a coach improve the way that they move. Whatever it is, if we're missing the mark on these deeper layers, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, there's always going to be something better. And we need to model what the best players in the world are doing. Now, there was a little sneak peek giveaway, but this whole thing, to use this analogy and really tie it up, We have this pyramid that we need to grow wide so that we can build tall. It's on a solid foundation, but there's one last piece that goes into all of this, and that has to do with your mindset. The environment that you're in is going to make or break the results of all of this. The students that are the most engaged in what they're doing, the students that can see themselves getting better, who have a vision of saying, I'm going to break 100 this year. I'm bought in. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to go to the range more often than I used to. I'm going to come see you for a lesson 2 days a week instead of 1 day a week. Whatever it is, when they have their vision set on where they're going, all the decisions fall into place. Now, we as the coaches, it's really important that we connect with our clients, our students, our members to understand their why. Because somebody might come to you and say, I need you to fix my slice. Show of hands, how many times do we get that? I'm slicing the ball, I need you to fix it. Everybody, right? That's like the most common thing. Do they really want you to fix their slice? Kinda. What do they really want to do? They want to stop losing balls. They want to hit the fairway. They want to hit it past their buddies. Why do they want to do that? They don't want to feel embarrassed when they're out there. They want to have a shot in the club championship. They want to be able to buy a new driver and actually use it. It's not the slice. The slice opens up our ability to communicate and ask questions to get them to the point where we can dive into what do they actually need. And that's where mindset comes in. Players, and then the coaches ourselves, we need to have a vision of where we're going. We need to be able to take action on what we need to do to get there, and we need to be in an environment that supports us on our way towards that action. We don't have to raise our hand for this one because I'm filming it. Nobody wants to see that, but think in your head, who's ever had a job that you didn't like? Bad environment. Remove that toxicity. We don't need an environment that says, you're not good enough. You can't do that. That's horrible. Our job as the teachers is to inspire people to be the greatest thing that they can possibly be. So we need to remove all that toxicity, and we need to create positivity through our community, through our clubs, through our culture, and it all starts with us as the leaders in the example of what that looks like. We need to help motivate people to take action on what it is they're trying to accomplish. We need to have a gritty mentality that no matter how much I fail, I'm willing to learn from it and grow. Whether our goal as teachers is, I want to increase my teaching revenue by 10%. Maybe I want to increase the membership by 20 new members this year. Whatever it is. We all have somewhere that we're working towards. Why else are you all here? Continuing education. You want to be better. We all want to be better. We want to take this information and bring it back to our students. But remember, when you leave and you go home and you talk to your students, you talk to your members, you talk to your clients, it's not about the information that you learned here. It's about how you digested that information and how you delivered it in such a way that your clients and members and students can go through a transformation. The information is for us, not for them. They don't need to know the science behind the 3D numbers of face angle and attack and D-plane. That's for us. They just need to know, hey, swing a little down and left. How much better is that going to be for a lesson, right? It's not about how much more we can add, it's how can we take things away to make things more simplistic. Now, in order to help with the vision of all of this, there are a couple things I really like and I teach all the time, which are breath work, meditation, and journaling. Because we might have moments of inspiration, but if we can't record them and reflect on them and learn from them and grow, it doesn't matter. We're eventually going to stop taking action, and it doesn't matter that the environment is that we're in. We're going to have that negative mindset. We're at January 23rd. Statistically speaking, most people who signed up for a gym for their New Year's resolution have stopped going. Right? How crazy is that? Why? Why? They failed to change their mindset and their belief about what it is they're doing and why they're doing it. You can be inspired and say, it's January, I want to lose 20 pounds. You can sign up for the gym, you can go a few times, and then you stop. Why? Because you failed to make that distinction of, I'm the kind of person who goes to the gym because I'm a healthy person and healthy people do this. Healthy people eat those foods. If somebody's struggling to break 100 and they want to shoot in the 80s, they have to believe I can be an 80s player. An 80s player stops at the course on the way home and putts for 15, 20 minutes. They're the person that gets there half an hour early because they want to warm up and stretch out and hit balls. They're the kind of person who comes in and takes lessons. If their goal is to add 20 yards, our job is to get to the root of why. You want to add 20 yards, and it all boils down to something else. One of the analogies I love to use, because I do similar talks in the fitness world as well. Let's say a personal trainer has a client coming in, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Oh, well, I want to look better. Why do you want to look better? Well, I have this dress that's been hanging in my closet for a couple of years. I haven't been able to wear it. And I'd really like to put it back on again. Oh, well, why is that important to you? Well, I've really seen that my health has gotten out of whack over these years, and I think it's time to make a change. Oh, well, what inspired that? Well, I have a couple young kids, and I can see that my kids are getting unhealthy. They're putting on weight, and I want to be an inspiration to them. Oh, well, why is that important to you? Oh, well, my parents never really set an example for me, and I've had to learn the hard way, and I don't want my kids to have to go through that. Got it. That's why you want to lose 20 pounds. That's why we need to fix their slice. It doesn't have to do with the slice. Somebody comes to see you for a lesson, you fix their slice, done. I'll see you in a month when it all falls apart. But if you make a connection with them and you provide a solution for them, and you say, oh, you want to fix that slice so that you can score lower, you stop losing balls, you have more money, you can come to more events, you can participate. Right? Get to those roots. When you connect with the player on that level, they come back for life. Does everybody understand that distinction? It's incredibly important. It's not the information. You can talk to somebody just in the hallway. Maybe somebody's just here visiting. They're not a pro, and they say, hey, Joe, how do you fix my slice? Oh, it's about your face angle and path. You just do this, it'll be fixed. Oh, great. That's information. But building that connection with people, that's the transformation. So if we want to help people perform better, we need to understand what it takes to reach that level of performance, get into the mindset that it takes to reach that level through health and wellness, movement, and fitness. But it all starts with having that right mindset and then wanting to do the work. Now, I know that's a little bit abstract, and we have a little bit of time left, and I want to make sure that we get into some questions. But before we do, we're going to go one more interaction here. And we're going to feel really good, and then we're going to get fired up, and then I'm going to bring you guys back down a little bit through some breath work. And I think this is one of the best parts of the entire talk. So I want everybody, if you will, go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to take one hand and put it right over your heart, and one hand put it right over your belly button. And we're just going to start by taking a couple of breaths in and out at your own pace. As you're breathing, I want you to ask yourself, which hand is moving? Is it the one up on your chest? Is your chest filling up? Or is it the one down on your belly? Regardless of what it is, I want you to focus on the hand over your belly. With the hand on your heart, I want you to feel your heartbeat. I want you to feel connected to yourself in that moment of breath. But the hand that's over your belly, I want you to feel it going in and out. And this is known as diaphragmatic breathing. And it's incredibly important. A lot of times when we spend too much time sitting, our diaphragm shuts down, it becomes weak, and we don't breathe. We don't utilize our full lung capacity. 2/3 of the oxygen that we breathe comes into the bottom 1/3 of our lungs, and a lot of times we don't get to that. We have this shallow breathing, which causes anxiety, it causes depression, it causes all sorts of little ailments. So as you're breathing, I want you to breathe in through that diaphragm. It's a little bit tougher when we're sitting, but as we breathe, get your posture nice and tall. And then as you breathe out, let it go. Now we're going to coordinate this, and we're going to do something known as square breathing or box breathing that you may have heard of, and all of a sudden all your worries are going to go away. You're going to feel amazing. How this works is we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds through our belly, through our nose, and then we're going to hold that breath for 4 seconds. We're going to exhale fully and completely out of our mouth, again through the diaphragm, and then we're going to hold it. There's going to be nothing left, and we hold that breath for another 4 seconds, and we're going to do this together, because when we do it together as a community, we bond with each other, and that is my goal, to create a connection. So Everybody, wherever you're at, go ahead and one more breath out, and we're going to do this together. Let's breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds. Hold that breath nice and big, nice and full through the diaphragm, and then let it go out the mouth. Feel your belly contract, get it all out, there's nothing left, and then hold it for 4 seconds. You're not going to die, it's okay. We're going to breathe in and breathe in through the nose, through the diaphragm, 4 seconds, nice and big. Hold that breath for another 1, 2, 3, 4. Then out of your mouth, relax. We're going to repeat this and hold it. There's nothing there. Now let's add a piece. Breathe in. As you're breathing in, feel the air coming in. Feel your potential. Feel your mind expand. You can do anything that you want to. Hold that breath. Hold that thought. Hold that feeling. Now as you exhale through your belly, get rid of all that doubt and insecurity and fear. Let it all go. You don't need it. It's not serving you. Hold that absence. It's all gone. Doesn't it feel good? Breathe in through the nose again, through that diaphragm, nice and big, nice and tall. Feel everything expand. Feel your posture get better. Hold it. You're optimistic. You're positive. Everything is right where you need it to be. And then you exhale out through the mouth, out through that diaphragm. Let all the doubt and insecurity go away. We're relaxed. We're in a room full of strangers, and yet we feel at peace. Let's breathe in through the nose. Hold it. And then out through the mouth. After this exhale, everybody just gently, slowly open your eyes back up. We're going to do one more breathing technique, but I want everybody to just notice. Right? Do we feel different? Does the room feel different? Do we feel more clear? Do we feel less anxious? Do we feel more in tune? Do we feel more connected? Right? We're doing something with a group of strangers. How cool is that? We're bonding. I encourage all of you, when we're all done with this presentation, go outside and talk to each other. Right? Oh, that Blaine kid, he was weird. We were breathing, right? But it's a commonality. That's how we get in touch with each other. Now, that's how we get calm, how we get relaxed. But what if we want to get fired up? Some people play better golf when they're fired up. Some people get inspired and creative when we're fired up. So we're going to do another technique which I love, and it's a hybrid technique of Wim Hof breathing, for those of you that know Wim Hof, and then Abraham Heisler breathing, one of my breathwork coaches, and I've kind of blended them together into what I call power breathing, because it goes with power stretching, and it's going to get us fired up. Now, full disclosure, when we start going through power breathing, it's not uncommon to start to feel lightheaded and dizzy and tingling sensations. That is great. I hope it happens. What's going to happen is we're going to go through a slightly different breath work. We're going to fill up our body with oxygen. We're going to alkalize our body to get rid of the acidity so that we're more healthy, more stable. We're going to build it up and up and up. You might feel those weird, tingly, warm sensations. That's great. Embrace it and move towards it. When I tell you to, we're going to take one more last breath in as big as you can, and then we're just going to let it go. When you let it go, you're not going to need to breathe. We're going to hold it for as long as you can. For some of you, it might be 30 seconds. For some of you, it might be 3 minutes. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. But what we're going to do is after we let it all go, and you just can't hold it anymore, you're going to take one more big breath in, as big as you can. I want to hear it. You're going to, as big as you can, and then you're going to squeeze that breath up into your head and into your body, and you're going to take all that concentration of oxygen that you just built up, and you're going to push it into all the cells of your body, and then you're going to let it go, and you're going to be like, holy crap. And it's going to be amazing. You guys excited? Ready to do it? Okay. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Eyes closed. The way that this breathing technique works is we're going to go in through our belly, then in through our chest, and then out, and it's going to be belly, chest, out. So let's do it together. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Over time, we're going to get bigger and speed it up. But belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. All through the mouth. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Each breath is a little deeper than the one before. Belly, chest, and out. We're going to get bigger, we're going to get deeper, we're going to get faster. I want to hear it, I want you to get into it, I want you to embrace the warm, tingling sensations that come over your body. Transport yourself into that safe space. We're all bonding. It's amazing. We're going to go in through the belly, in through the chest, and out. In through the belly, in through the chest, and out. Belly, chest, out, Bigger. I want to hear it, everybody. Belly, chest, out. You're going to feel warmer. Embrace it. That's exactly what we want. In through the belly, in through the chest, and out. We're going to speed it up. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Sit taller, sit prouder. Each one. Feel your ribs expanding. Feel your posture getting taller. Feel your head getting lighter, your body getting warmer. You might feel some tingling in your mouth. You might feel some tingling in your fingers. Embrace it. Breathe towards it. Don't hold back. We're all doing something weird together, right? Now's not the time to hold back. Just embrace it. Go for it. In through the belly, in through the chest, and out. Belly, chest, out. We're about halfway. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Bigger, faster. I want to hear it. I want to feel a breeze. I want you guys to knock me over. We're going in through the belly, in through the chest, and out as big as you possibly can. Let go. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. We're going faster. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Fast. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. Give it everything. Keep breathing. Make it bigger. Make it faster. Don't hold back. We're almost there. 10 more. Belly, chest, out. Belly, chest, out. You're getting warm. You're getting tingly. It's great. 5 more. Belly, chest, out. Don't hold back. Now's your chance. 3 more. Belly, chest, out. 2 more. Belly, chest, out. Last one as big as you can. Breathe it in and just let it go. Just relax. Keep your eyes closed. You might be feeling a little weird. You might be feeling emotional. Things are going to flood over you. You might feel tingly. You might feel like you're underwater. We're relaxed. We're peaceful. We've stored up all this oxygen in our body. We've alkalized ourselves. We're flooding our body with serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin, all the feel-good things. We're diving into our parasympathetic nervous system so that we feel safe. All this stress is going away. Just be at one with yourself. Be in that moment. Observe it. What is it like? When you can't hold it anymore, take the biggest breath in that you possibly can and then squeeze it up into your head. 5, 10, 15 seconds, contract your whole body, push, 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 push. Squeeze it up and then just let it go. Absolutely no rush, anybody. Keep going. When you're done, when you're relaxed, you can take your hand off your heart and chest. I'll know that you're done. But take your time. You might need a minute to come back out of it. Amazing. Show of hands. Who feels better? Awesome. It's a very, very powerful thing. It's free. We can do it at any time. If we're feeling overwhelmed, if we're feeling stressed out, if we're feeling that anxiety, just get rid of it. It's not serving you. This frees you up into the headspace where you can have the mindset that you need for growth. You can do anything. It's not easy. It's called a breathwork practice because it takes work and you got to practice. Ideally, what we just did, you do 3 times. Each time gets deeper and more intense. Each time you do it, you'll get better at it. But if you can put yourself into that mindset, you will remove the toxicity. You'll put yourself into a positive space. You'll see what actions you need to take, and you're not going to be weighed down by I can't. You can do whatever you want. You're going to be willing to fail and grow because you're locked onto your vision. You know where you're going. If you have a flight that's going to take you to London, and it gets off track and it takes you up into Edinburgh instead, you'll find your way down there. You hop on a train, you get a bus, you rent a bike, you hitchhike. You'll get there. But you need to know where you're going and you need to be willing to take action on it. Because once you have your vision locked on to what it looks like, then you're the kind of person that says, I want to take care of myself. I'm going to get more sleep. I'm going to hydrate and take care of my body because I feel better. I'm going to put good food into my body because I'm not so tired and I feel like I can do more. And because I'm feeling so good, I'm going to do my mobility work. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to do my stretches because that's the kind of person who I am. And when your body is feeling better, you can strengthen it. You can add rotary strength and power so that you can become a better swinger of the club and transition into it. It's not always about the swing. It's not always about the answer that we get from our students or our members. Our job is to take care of ourselves first and foremost so that we can come from a place of abundance to connect with people, to find those deeper layers of what they're really asking us for so that we can provide a solution for them. And when that connection is made, it doesn't matter what club you switch to, it doesn't matter if you put your programs online, whatever it is, you have a fan for life because you touch them in a way that nobody has ever touched them before. Not Cosby or Michael Jackson style. This is like really deep stuff, right? So at the end of the day, that is the Mobilitas method. To get to the performance level that you're trying to get to, we start with the mindset of what it's going to look like, how you're going to get there, and what your why is. We take care of our body through health and wellness. We nourish it so that we can implement movement practices to create a level of fitness which will ultimately get us there. Don't make decisions based off what you do now or what you've done in the past. Ask yourself, what would somebody who's already accomplished what I'm trying to do? Take the actions of the person you're trying to become, and you will find that you will get there. To share a quick and personal story, for those of you that don't know, 2 years ago this week, I was at the TPI Fitness and Wellness stage, and I just completely stumbled upon it. I didn't even know it existed. And what did I do? I sat there for 3 days. I introduced myself to every speaker that came off there, and I said, I'm going to be up there next year. What happened? I was invited to speak on that stage last year. I was invited to speak here. I was invited to speak in Vegas. They asked me to come back. Because I knew where I was going, I said, come hell or high water, that's where I'm going to get to. All decisions led to that. The mindset doesn't always stick. It doesn't always stay. Days are going to be tough, which is why we need to be in an environment that supports it. Each one of you at your club or at your facility is that environment, but you get to be the leader and show people what's possible through your actions. Inspire them to do what it is they really want to do. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you got a lot out of this. I'm going to be sticking around. 3 o'clock on the TPI stage. We're going to go into this a little bit more. Check me out, mobilitasgolf.com. Scan that code on that card. Get a free copy of my book. And I encourage all of you, join my free group on Facebook called the Mobilitas Movers. We do stuff like this all the time. So if you want to steal things, if you want to implement things, please come in and let me know. And then for those of you that are thinking, this is amazing, I don't know how to do that, one of the things that I do as part of my business is I'll travel around the country and work with fellow teaching professionals to fill in these blanks and provide online programs that get them and your players to that transition phase. So if you have any students that you think this would benefit from, going through health and wellness training, fitness training, all of that good stuff, talk to me. Let me know. Let's set something up. We can do it all online, or I'm on the road quite a bit. I'll come to you. Email me, mobilitasgolf@gmail.com, and stick around and say hi. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.